This week in comic books, Future State still amazes me that it's still pretty good. Like, it hasn't been too bad. Over in the land of Marvel, we sometimes fight that we need to fight darkness with darkness. Maybe a hint of silver in it? Also, in the land of Independence, we find out that Delta Dogs is still proven to be a superior comic book, as they teach us a valuable lesson that we should all endure. All that and more right after that beautiful intro. What's going on, you wonderful weirdos? I'm Pocan Joe, and as always, super cool for you to swing by. I really do appreciate it. If this is your first time to the channel, basically, I'm going to talk about a bunch of comic books and anything else nerd-related that I've been doing lately, and hopefully you can comment or say some stuff down in the comments about if you agree or disagree. So without further ado, let's jump into it with this week in DC. So, Future State. First off, I could only get 3 DC books this week because they came late, because the shipping for this stuff is still extremely complicated. Is your comic book shop having trouble with this too? Maybe we should start saying something? Regardless, Catwoman came out and we get introduced to a slew of things in here. We get introduced to a character who we're just going to call Onomatopoeia Man. Onomatopoeia Man. That sounds what it shouldn't be. If you don't know what an onomatopoeia is, it's basically when you spell out a sound effect like kapow, whap, pew pew, stuff like that. And apparently this individual only talks in onomatopoeia. So that was kind of weird. I don't know where they're going to take that, but I'm kind of excited because he kind of looks sort of something similar to the designer back in the day. So I wonder if there's some connection there. I don't know. Also, we get introduced to this universe's version of the Strays. You know, Catwoman's team. I thought for sure that was going to get weird and hinky, and turned out it was okay. In this particular issue, we find out that Gotham's a lot more controlling through the magistrate than we ever imagined. They're rounding up all the delinquent kids and stuff like that and shipping them off. Sound familiar yet? It's like something that might have happened in the 1940s-ish with a particular religious group. Yeah, they're diving into that, which is okay, because, you know, you should fight Nazis, right? That's what you should do. So all in all, this is a pretty good book. I'm maybe picking up some more of this. And I'm not a huge Catwoman person, but I like the preface of the story. I'll be picking up some more of Future State Catwoman #1, that issue. Deceased finally ended. Maybe not the greatest ending. It was basically I'm John Constantine and I'm smarter than everybody. Remember all that evil stuff I had to do the right thing and couldn't tell anybody? Which I still don't understand why you can't say. I'm collecting all this stuff to beat Trigon. So I can enter Trigon's body. But I guess it would take away from the story. Regardless, that's what happens in here. Trigon gets possessed by John Constantine because he has dead man's powers, and kind of destroys himself and it all. Also, we destroy the Amazo robots that were coming, and it all seemed to happen pretty rushed and pretty quickly. But all in all, I was satisfied with the entire story, so a quick ending didn't really bother me too much. Plus, that's a cool cover. Moving on, Rorschach. So this is getting weirder, and I think that's the only reason why I read it. Like, this book is kind of, I don't know, it's just something about it. It's just like, why are we talking about this? In this one, we get our little cowgirl who we call the Kid. We've seen her before, and the big mystery of her past. And apparently she hung out in a circus for a while. Imagine that with most runaways. And befriends the strong man in it, who she convinces that he is Rorschach and needs to kill evildoers. So this guy's in prison kind of narrating his association with the Kid. Out of nowhere. just out of nowhere. It just happened. So all in all, I don't know if it's good or bad. It's interesting for the most part. And if it's there, you know, I might pick it up some more. I don't know. We'll chase down this rabbit hole and see where it takes us, to see if anything interesting actually comes out of it. So again, that was all my DCs this week because of shipping problems. That just seems to be a problem with this new company that DC's using. So moving on to Marvel. Oh, did you get this? Burst off. They're calling these tattoo covers now. Has anybody else heard that term yet for these particular covers with the designs and stuff on them? I don't know. Let me know. And I don't much like that. Basically, that just doesn't even look like a tattoo. It just looks horrible. In this, we kind of get a glimpse of Dylan and how Dylan can step up as a superhero in this and even try to battle Null. But he even proves not to be strong enough to battle Null. So then luckily Thor shows up. He shows up with his hammer and he starts fighting it. And I love the banter between these two. Because again, you get this kind of cool, sophisticated feel with Null. And then you kind of have the Shakespearean language of Thor being used in this. Literally telling Null when he's going on with some rant about how great, of a king he is and everything. And Thor's like, look, Slick, I've said these speeches. Let's just fight it out. All in all, Null ends up stabbing Thor in the back. Fictionally, literally. We'll go with that. And then sends a call out to his best friend, and you're my favorite, Silver Surfer in black. So why would wouldn't he just be the Black Surfer now? Why do we call it? I'm not sure how that works. Now, if you remember, if you saw any of my other reviews, I wasn't too keen on the whole Silver Surfer in black thing. It just kind of, I think it was the artwork that threw me off on it. Plus the story was just ramblings. But I am excited to see it come into this, focus into a more mainstream story. I think they're able to do more with him. And God knows Cates can shine up just about anything and make it sound good. So this was pretty good. Definitely on my watch list. Something that's not on my watch list, but I'm going to keep picking it up because I love making fun of it, is this new Avengers run. Where basically we're going to do another tournament style, only this time for the Phoenix Force. Because God knows X of Swords wasn't good enough, or Ten of Swords, or whatever people are calling it. And this one, lots of narrative in it from Randy with her dinosaur and a bunch of other characters. Also, Jane Foster's in here, and she has to tell us 4 times in this comic book, yeah, I was a Thor. We constantly get that reminder. 4 times in the same comic book, mind you. So that seemed a bit much to me, a little over the top. But all right, fine. Now you're a Valkyrie or whatever. I don't know. This book is so heavily narrated into the characters, making sure that you understand how important they are, that it kind of really takes away from the story. Also, we see, this was absolutely ridiculous. We get Black Panther, and we get the guy from Squadron Supreme, Nighthawk, or their version of Batman. We'll just say, that guy. They actually give us a lesson on tariffs and how political movement work, and it was about as exciting as that explanation just sounded. It was a yawner, and I'm just like, oh my God, who cares? This is the thing we're gonna do in the comic books now? What's going on with this light behind me? It's like the light of the Lord coming down upon me. Does it look like a halo? No. Okay, so anyway, not an overly interesting book. A real sleeper. But I'll keep picking it up because you gotta blast something once a week. Another good book this week. Maestro. So in this we get the, I don't know how to put it. It's not a dictatorship. It's actually worse than a dictatorship in this. So Pax is Latin for peace. You actually learn that in peace, then we will kill you type of mentality goes through here as the Hulk tries to rule overall. In this one, Machine Man gets the best of them. Then we find out that there's also another group. There's always another group hidden someplace. There's a group of people that are hidden. Shows up at the end. So that's kind of interesting because the way Hulk's acting kind of reminds me of kind of a Doom type character. So I want to see that clash kind of happen. So this doesn't actually happen in it. And surprisingly, the only reason why I picked it up, it's got a young cover. Wife's got to collect them all. So it was a surprising read. Next, here's why I hate Marvel sometimes. Sometimes, not all the time. They do stuff like this. They give me an Iron Man #1. So I'm like, oh, fresh new story, ready to launch. And it's so reliant that you already know what has happened in previous issues of Iron Fist that it's just irrelevant to you. Something about the, King Lao or wherever he gets his Iron Fist magic from, all 7 of the hidden cities or whatever are under attack by female Bullseye. I'm not even being funny in that one. They literally call her that in here. Fictionally, literally. That's a lot to say. Anyway, that's what they call her here. And Taskmaster's in it, apparently. At one point, like, Taskmaster's like, oh, I need to kill Iron Fist. Oh, they're going around to kill the dragons to steal their hearts. We don't know why. Because it's an issue number one. You would think that plot point would have kind of fleshed out in some way, but it didn't. We're just going to start in the middle of a story, apparently. So anyway, Taskmaster and him are kind of fighting, and this is where I think the writer might have kind of lost some direction here, because Iron Fist and Taskmaster are fighting, and he's like, Taskmaster's like, hey, I may get a bonus if I kill you, right? Which he does, and he ends up giving up and running away. But then later on, like, Lady Bullseye's like, damn it, why did we pay Taskmaster so much he didn't even kill you? Like, you didn't even know he was going to show up, so that was kind of weird. That caught me. And maybe I'm being nuancy about it, but regardless, that's kind of a lot relying on this. Of course, we got a little girl with a dragon in it, because that seems to be the thing now. Apparently, she knows some martial arts too. She's all taking stances, and some dude with a backpack full of gizmos and gadgets. Hey, remember in the 80s the show The Wizard? That's what it kind of reminded me of. If you remember that, you definitely need to comment down below, because that was awesome. All right, moving on. Let's talk about some weirdness. So, I breathed a body. This thing's off the chart. So basically, we were playing with social media and its control on people and how algorithms and stuff can be maneuvered in here with a young man who's becoming, like, let's just say YouTube, Instagram famous, whatever the video things are now, right? Or in the future, right? Because this takes place in the future. Apparently, this kid was synthetically made through some voodoo hoodoo. We don't really know. We just see a lot of weird imagery in the beginning. This thing is so over narrative. This omniscient being that's given us the narrative, and it speaks in overly dramatic tones and over the top, to where it's trying to sound Argentine, not Argentina, but artisan, right? It's very artisan speaking, or theatrical. Yeah, there you go. Over the top, theatrical speaking. That it's kind of off-putting to the story. And the story's weird to begin with, so I didn't much enjoy this. It was just kind of... once in future, so we're kicking off. We find out that Deacon's mom in here, the main antagonist, and his grandmother, we find out that Deacon, his brother, right, was actually conceived from a Lancelot. I say a Lancelot because the story of King Arthur is very vast. In this one, they're using the particular French version, one of the first medieval writings, which I thought was really cool. He's even speaking French in the thing, which was really cool. And it was through some spell or something like that to get Gilead, her version of Gilead, born, so this whole story could actually take place, which was okay. All right. Most of this is that investigation, and then our government agency bumps in, and we meet our government agent character that's going to be portrayed future here, and who's watching over all of this stuff. Sleeper issue at best. Nothing real pertinent in this one. Just an in-between issue. Last but not least, one of my favorite comic books that I've been reading lately is Delta Dogs. I can't talk enough about this stuff. I was able to get their Virgin variant cover. Super happy about that. So without breaking out everything that has happened in this, we finally realize in this book that we live in a world with superheroes. It's positively confirmed that everybody knows that superheroes exist in some way, shape, or form. We've seen like them kind of show up before, but we weren't sure the whole scope of the thing. So now we know this is a worldwide thing, or at least we get that feeling. We also get another training montage in this one, and this one I know some people can say, hey, 2 training montages, that's kind of. But this one's more important because this one actually deals with them not just learning what their powers can do, but how they can work together. And those are 2 separate things. And they kind of explain that in here, and I thought it was good. We'll call him Flat Top. So Flat Top's had a run-in with the police before that was not in his favor, right? He was accused of crime. He didn't commit the crime. Guns were pulled. This happens again while he's in the downtown Norfolk area. In the midst of Snake Wave and his goons extorting. Is the best way to put it. Extorting a big business. One of the bad guys comes out. He can whip these chains out everywhere and these spiked balls. It's really cool. I don't do it justice. So he's out there and he's just dropping cops left and right. And Josh is like, hey, I know I'm a superhero. I should do something. And he pauses and he keeps thinking, having those memories in his head about how cops treat him. So why should he save the cops, right? And then his cousin gets into his head with the memory about, you can't let your past determine your future type thinking. We're going to put it that way. What's beautiful about this is it's true. If you're going to live your life, the story of your life is only a couple of pages long because you'll avoid it at all times. In this one, our hero steps up and moves forward, which to me is probably about as stoic as it can be. Saving your enemy to later be your friend can be hugely important. Thinking strategically. So that was really good in this book, and I really like the writers, and I love the artwork in here. It's pretty solid, and the characters are truly unique and interesting. You all about it. So definitely, if you have the time, check out Millennial Comics. They're on Comixology, and they have an online store as well. You may want to check that out. If I remember before I do the editing, I'll be sure to put that in the description to have a peek. Other than that, what else has been going on? Watched WandaVision, the first 2 episodes. I'll try to watch the other one later before Blast or Stash It tonight. Speaking of which, Blast or Stash It, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myself, Spectacular Spider Grandpa, and Huey. We're all going to sit down. We're going to talk about the books we read this week, what we liked, what we hated, and we want you to jump in. So 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we got a chat room going on. Let's talk it up. Let's agree, let's disagree, the whole 9 yards, and just have fun as a community. Other than that, I got something in the mail. So as you know, I've been doing a lot of evil layer projects, and I just got something in the mail. And this kind of scared me for a minute, because there was Russian writing all over it. And I know it's Russian because that's what Pocan looks like in Russian. So I was like, oh Lord, who? A lot of my subscribers are from Europe for some reason. I don't know why that is. It's weird. But what they gave me, and I don't know if this is a suggestion for the evil lair, because there was no note in it. Just mysteriously, a short version of the Sword of Omens, which is serendipitous because me and Spectacular Spider Grandpa were talking about making something similar to this. This is actually really cool because you can really gives me, because it can be taken apart. It's got the little symbol and it's got the blade, so I got something to take measurements, and that's a lot easier than trying to figure it out online. So thank you. I can try to pronounce your name, but let's be honest, I'm just gonna butcher it. So